Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. I wanted to talk a little bit today about, well, if you came in my door a few years ago and I was doing an evaluation with your player, where we take video of the player's swing and we talk about how we can improve, I'd probably showed you a video of a player maybe like Bryce Harper or Albert Pujols or somebody, and I would have said, it showed certain characteristics in the swing that I said that that we needed to stress as we were learning going forward. And one of the things I might have pointed out is something you're going to see here with Bryce Harper's back foot. Now, for people that haven't seen this before, that's usually a pretty eye-opening experience because there was a time when bug squishing was really a big player in how we were teaching kids how to hit, right? It's that we were basically telling players to spin on the ball of their foot, right? And really what we learn, obviously, is that all that does is makes the player spin around on top of the ground. And so we would point out stuff like this to talk about how important it was that we should have a mechanism that allows this backside to release through the ball, as you see his back leg driving through contact, or maybe his back hip. Okay, so but one of the things that you hear, and this is a online, I think, it scares me almost. These guys that are the hitting gurus on YouTube and so forth, they're really talking about it's much more sexier to talk about what they're talking about and a little more dull to tell you what I think is the honest truth about the reality of what's happening in these situations. So I think it's really important if you're going to point out how great this back leg move is that you really should be or you should understand what's really happening here. And so when I say that, it's because I think we just point out how athletic this move is, but most people that are talking about it, they don't understand what these guys and why these guys do this. So let's think about the guys that have big giant leg kicks. All right, Albert Pujols, Josh Donaldson, right? We'll go to he normally has a lot of back leg drive. His foot gains a lot of ground. Maybe not so much in this video, but you can see how far his foot moves. Probably a good foot all the way to contact, right? And on and on and on. You'll see this. But the characteristic that I want to point out, and really, maybe it's just me imagining these things, but I think it's so obvious that these guys are landing way wider and they stand wider, for instance, like Pujols, than other guys do. They're just super wide. So why does this back leg action happen? Not because they're jumping off of it, not because they're trying to be more athletic than the next guy. It's this wide base, right? If you've got this base underneath you, all of these players are going to use the ground and they're going to use leverage to stay back. What is this back leg going to do? Is it going to just turn around? There's no way in the world to have this much momentum going into your weight shift and have that separation or that width on the ground and not do this. And not do this. And so we shouldn't point, oh, well, this is normal. Kids should hit this point. No, no, I don't think so. I think that there's a place for it. If you want to teach kids to stride this distance, and that's fine. But that's the only time you should expect to see a back leg move that's anywhere close to this, right? But so here's the problem. So I hear more and more these days of guys online talking about that back leg move and how athletic it is, and I'll see videos of their kids hitting where they're talking about, look at the athleticism now, and all I see is a mess. And that just because the back leg is scooting on the ground, okay, they're not squishing the bug, but that doesn't really necessarily make it a good move. This is a product of the framework that he set up, not because he said, I'm going to make a giant back leg move. I mean, I think that's really obvious. So if your player has a really wide base when they land and they control their momentum very well, then you should probably expect that they're going to have a big back leg move, right? It shouldn't be manufactured. It should be a response to leverage in this proper mechanism that releases this backside, like these guys know how to do, right? Then that makes sense to me. But to make it an argument that that's athleticism, it really is a slap in the face to, well, a whole lot of players in the major leagues that don't pick their foot up in the air, that don't drag their foot across the ground, and still somehow, like Matt Carpenter and his size, he can still hit it 400 and something feet. I don't know how it happens without him picking his leg up and crashing his knees together, but somehow he's able to stay back, right, and do stuff like this. So is that just one example? No, there are tons of examples of guys that don't have their back foot doing what these guys are doing. Now, can you make the argument, obviously, Bryce Harper, Josh Donaldson, all these guys create a lot more power and a lot more momentum by being wider and controlling their momentum, having a bigger back leg or more room for their back leg to release through the ball? Heck yeah. That's basically, well, that's science, right? He's generating more momentum and so forth through the ball. Is that more athletic? Probably so. But to make the argument that, or to try to just point out this back leg move and not point out the framework, right? That number one, they're making this move because they're super wide, wider than the average player, right? Is really, I think, a disservice. And then I think as well to point out that that's the only way to do it. And if you're not doing that, you're not athletic, I think is, well, I think it's guys that really should do more working with kids and watching less video of Bryce Harper hitting. All right, this is Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. Thanks.